Chapter 31 Anyone who stands in my way will die. You are listening at novelfold.audio. Roar. I saw the Nine Tails, its eyes glowing with Sharingan-like intensity, roaring at the countless Konoha ninjas and the frightened civilians behind them. The sudden wave of cold, violent energy sent shivers down the spines of even seasoned ninjas, making them hesitate to fight. The morale of the Konoha forces crumbled before our eyes. Some civilians, paralyzed by fear, collapse to the ground. When it comes to pure terror, the Nine Tails outshines even Susanoo, despite its smaller size. Maybe it's the raw, untamed evil that Kyuubi radiates. One glance is enough to scare the pants off anyone, even Tsunade, Jiraiya, Gamabunta, Gamahiro, Gamatake, Kakashi, Kurenai Yuhi, Hisashi Hyuga, Shikaku Nara, and other powerful figures felt a chill seeing the monstrous fox before them. Then, any last words? Chen Yiban, clad in crimson armor, his long hair flowing down his back, and his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan blazing red, sat cross-legged on the Nine Tails' head. He smirked down at the Konoha ninja and the toads from Mount Myaboku. He even rested his chin on his hand, radiating arrogance. His casual demeanor was unbelievable. This simple gesture seemed to drag the already despairing people of Konoha even further into the abyss. That's it, it's over. We can't win. I don't want to fight anymore. I just want to live. I want to get out of Konoha. Me too. There's no way we can win. I don't want to die. I can't die. And then, driven to their breaking point, the mentally shattered Konoha ninjas and terrified civilians around him began to kneel. Madara-sama, please, please don't kill me. Some begged for their lives, while others simply prostrated themselves before Chen Yiban. You. Tsunade's anger flared, but she tried to rebuke them, but the words wouldn't come, because, deep down, she knew they weren't wrong. Who doesn't want to live? If there was even a sliver of hope for victory, Tsunade believed these people would never stoop to begging for mercy. Was there truly nothing they could do? It was the same story. The legendary ninja, Uchiha Madara, was just too damn strong. So overwhelmingly powerful that everyone present felt utterly hopeless, including Tsunade. She knew Chen Yiban was now unstoppable. He'd been a force to be reckoned with even before. Now, having forcefully broken Naruto's seal and seized control of the Kyuubi, he was untouchable. How could she, with the remnants of Konoha's forces, possibly stand against such an enemy? Madara. Do you really intend to slaughter them all? Mustering her last reserves of strength, Tsunade stepped forward and challenged him. Tsunade. Jiraiya, weakened and battered, stumbled to her side. Tsunade-chan, little Jiraiya is about to collapse. Fukasaku, perched on Jiraiya's shoulder, warned. Jiraiya. Tsunade rushed to his side, her face etched with worry, but she saw. Jiraiya couldn't even maintain sage mode anymore. The bleeding from his severed arm, which had been temporarily stopped, had resumed after his fight with Chen Yi's Susanoo clone. Jiraiya had already been critically wounded by the sword of the Susanoo's complete body. He was running on fumes. He'd given it his all. It wasn't that Jiraiya was weak, but the enemy was impossibly strong. Tsunade, get everyone out of Konoha. I'll hold him off. Jiraiya's face was pale, but his eyes burned with unwavering resolve. He was prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice for Konoha. Tsunade, wordlessly, began channeling the last vestiges of her chakra to heal Jiraiya. Tsunade-sama, allow me, Slug said, moving to Jiraiya's side to assist with her healing abilities. Tsunade immediately ceased her medical ninjutsu output. Then, Madara. If you're set on revenge, then. As the granddaughter of the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, I'll face your wrath alone. But the rest of Konoha is innocent. I beg you, spare them. Tsunade stepped forward, facing Chen Yiban on the Nine Tails' head. Tsunade. Jiraiya tried to stop her. Innocent. Chen Yiban finally spoke, cutting her off. During an avalanche, do you really think any single snowflake is innocent? Tsunade fell silent, but she persisted. What is it you want? Do you really intend to slaughter thousands of people in Konoha? Chen Yiban didn't answer immediately. Kakashi, Jiraiya, Hizashi Hyuga, Shikaku Nara, and the others held their breath. At that moment, only Tsunade, the fifth Hokage, was deemed worthy to speak to Chen Yiban. The fate of everyone in Konoha rested on his words. Chen Yiban, seated atop the ferocious Ninetales, let his scarlet gaze scan the countless Konoha ninjas and civilians scattered across the landscape. He saw them all, their poses varying, but their eyes reflecting the same despair. Those who kneel may stay. Those who refuse to submit may leave. Or, you can try to resist. Maybe you'll actually kill me. Then, Chen Yiban slowly rose from the Ninetales' head and spoke, his face twisted into a contemptuous sneer at the end of his sentence. And among the countless Konoha ninjas and civilians, who dared defy him? In fact, Master Madara, I submit. I'll obey you. I, too, pledge my allegiance to you, Madara-sama. Me too. I surrender. Countless Konoha ninjas, their courage shattered, knelt before Chen Yiban on the Ninetales' head. The ninjas fell like dominoes, and from every direction, countless civilians followed suit. Tsunade lowered her head. She didn't blame them, they just wanted to live. They weren't wrong. But towards Chen Yiban, Tsunade wanted to tear him apart. And then, more and more Konoha ninjas and civilians knelt before Chen Yiban on the monstrous Ninetales, signaling their surrender. Amidst this, Ichiraku's daughter, Ayam, who had initially been unwilling to kneel, stood out. Her stubborn resistance was like a single flower amidst a field of chickens, until Tuchi intervened, forcibly pulling her down to kneel beside him. Ayam remained kneeling in protest. Finally, Tsunade, supporting the gravely wounded Jiraiya, turned to leave Konoha. It seemed like only yesterday that she had returned to become the glorious fifth Hokage. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Tsunade knew Chen Yiban would never allow her, the fifth Hokage, to remain, so, she chose to leave. And not everyone had chosen to surrender to Chen Yiban. Many of Konoha's original jonin, such as Kakashi, Shikaku Nara, Kurenai Yuhi, Enko Mitarashi, and others, still stood beside Tsunade. But did I say you could leave? From atop Kyubi's head, Chen Yiban, his arms crossed, watched Tsunade turn to support Jiraiya. A crimson smile spread across his face. Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kakashi, and the others froze. What do you want? Tsunade whirled around, her eyes fixed on Chen Yiban. Does he really want to kill us all? The thought raced through her mind. You're of use to me. You're Hashirama's granddaughter, aren't you? You can't leave. Chen Yiban said, his smile unwavering. You. Tsunade glared at Chen Yiban from afar, but she was powerless. She couldn't beat him. Her fate now rested on his whims. Why? Why Tsunade? Jiraiya, his face ashen, stepped forward. Even the wise make mistakes, and fools sometimes stumble upon brilliance. This woman's medical ninjutsu is undeniable. Chen Yiban replied with a faint smile, the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan in his right eye, still adjusting from the recent transplant, was now acting up, and Tsunade, with her expertise in medical ninjutsu, could fix this in a heartbeat. Beyond that, Chen Yiban needed the Ashura flesh and blood, and the Ashura chakra it contained, both safely stored within the system's inventory, so, he needed Tsunade. Everyone else in Konoha could leave, but Tsunade had to stay. As for her being disobedient or trying something clever, that's why Chen Yiban had targeted Danzo Shimura in the first place. For Uchiha Shursue's Mangekyo Sharingan Koto Amatsukami. Chen Yiban had planned almost everything before arriving in Konoha today. The 8 gates was his first objective. Danzo Shimura was the second. Namikaze Minato was the third. And fourth, was Tsunade. Chen Yiban knew exactly what he wanted. And anyone who stood in his way would die. Chapter 32 Tsunade, No Misfortune. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Night in Konoha, with the fighting over, villagers and ninja alike started rebuilding the damaged homes. Meanwhile, inside the Hokage building, Basic Achievement Spins, 113. Intermediate Achievement Spins, 5. Advanced Achievement Spins, 2. Super Achievement Spin, 1. Chen Yiban stood alone in the Hokage building, unusually calm, as he surveyed the system's interface. Only he could see, after routing Konoha, Chen Yiban had come to the Hokage building alone to catch a breather. No one dared bother him. Now, he was checking his haul for the day. Not bad. But it still feels like something's missing. I might not have killed many top-tier fighters, but I defeated them all. That should count for more, right? That he was still a bit unsatisfied, the system chimed in, answering his unspoken thoughts. While you defeated Konoha's Jonin, they didn't surrender. They didn't kneel, beg, or even collapse. To qualify for the basic achievement spin, they need to be at least elite Chunin level, and there need to be 10 of them. Is that how it is? Chen Yiban murmured. So, even though Kakashi and the others couldn't beat him, they never gave up or begged for mercy. That's why he didn't get any credit for taking them down. Got it. He finally walked over and sat in the Hokage's chair. Looking at the 100+ spins floating in the air, he mused, too many of these basic spins are useless. Can I trade them in? Sitting in Tsunade's seat, he rested his chin on his hand and spoke lazily. Yes. 10 basic spins can be exchanged for 1 intermediate spin, 10 intermediate spins for 1 advanced spin, and so on. The system responded again. Alright, then exchange 113 basic spins for 1 advanced spin and 1 intermediate spin, he decided immediately. Then, let's move on to the advanced and super spins, with the low-level spins converted, basic achievement spins, 3. Intermediate achievement spins, 6. Advanced achievement spins, 3. Super achievement spin, 1. Spinning, congratulations. You've obtained a sample of Hashirama Senju's flesh and blood from the advanced spin. Congratulations. You've obtained, Spacetime Ninjutsu, Flying Thunder God Technique. Proficient, congratulations. You've obtained, 8 Inner Gates Formation. Proficient, congratulations. You've obtained, Rinnegan Technique, Amenota Jikara, Heavenly Hand Power, from the Super Spin. Oh, Chen Yiban, still lounging with his chin in his hand, couldn't help but smirk as he read the notifications. Hashirama's cells. Too bad I already have Azura's. And the 8 gates, well, if I combine it with Izanagi, that could be interesting. Not bad. Flying Thunder God, not bad either. And finally, the Super Spin gave me the Rinnegan's Pupil Technique, Heavenly Hand Power. Excellent. Too bad I haven't unlocked the Rinnegan yet. Chen Yiban dropped his hand, a look of regret on his face. Looks like I need to merge the power of Azura or Hashirama ASAP. And I have to unlock the Rinnegan. That's where Tsunade comes in. He touched his right eye. It was still stuck in Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan mode, impossible to open or close normally. His medical skills weren't up to par. Earlier that day, to deal with Might Guy's 8 Gates release, Chen Yiban had swapped out his original right eye for a standard 3-tomo Sharingan from the system space to cast Izanagi. He had managed to take down Guy, but his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan couldn't be closed freely after being reinserted, thanks to his lack of finesse. She'll have to fix this for me, Chen Yiban muttered to himself, then called out, you can come in now. He stared at the closed door with his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan in his right eye and his normal black pupil in his left, as if speaking to thin air, but creak, a curvy figure burst into the room, as if they had been waiting right outside the door for a long time. All right. Tell me, what do you want me to do? Tsunade stomped into the room, glaring at Chen Yiban, who was sitting in her Hokage seat. She briefly frowned when she noticed that Chen Yiban's right eye was a Mangekyo Sharingan while his left eye had a normal pupil, but she didn't give it too much thought. Just then. Well, now. A cold, cruel smile crept across Chen Yiban's face as he said coolly, with that attitude, I don't think I can trust you to work on me. So. Kachi. As he spoke, Chen Yiban summoned the green chakra of crude medical ninjutsu into his right hand, and he proceeded to force his right eye closed. In an instant, blood trickled from the socket of his right eye. It was undeniably terrifying. What are you doing? Tsunade stared at his self-mutilation in shock and confusion, but... Wait, could it be that, you? Tsunade's mind raced. Suddenly, she seemed to understand something. That bastard Danzo somehow got his hands on Shura Uchiha's eyes, and now so you want to. Tsunade squeezed her eyes shut, even putting aside Haosho, she was going to try to avoid facing Chen Yiban's eyes. In response. Correct. You're smarter than I thought, you guessed it. It's Shura Uchiha's Mangekyo Sharingan indeed, Koto Amatsukami. But, aren't you Hashirama's granddaughter? Do you really think you can resist me now? Chen Yiban confessed openly and confidently, he even spoke with a direct and undisguised threat. Chen Yiban was smiling, but with blood streaming from his right eye, he looked exceptionally menacing. You. Moda. You're even more of a bastard and more shameless than that guy Danzo Shimura. Tsunade spat, furious, but, could she resist? She couldn't. Finally, sighing in helpless resignation, Tsunade slowly opened her beautiful eyes once more. Those who understand current affairs are heroes. Chen Yiban's smile widened just a fraction, then, the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan vanished into thin air as he pressed on the right eye socket again and his right hand quickly left the right eye. Mangekyo Sharingan. Other gods. Chapter 33 Samsara I Opening the Eyes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 3 days later, at Konoha Hospital, Jiraiya lay unconscious in his room, recovering from a broken arm and other serious injuries. Finally, his eyes fluttered open. The first person he saw was the one he longed to see most. Tsunade. Tsunade. For a moment, Jiraiya was disoriented. Then, reality crashed down, and he tried to sit up. Hiss. A jolt of pain shot through his right arm as he moved. Easy there. You're still healing, Tsunade said from her seat beside the bed. Jiraiya settled back, a little calmer, but when he looked down at the empty space where his right arm should be, a wave of bitterness washed over him. Tsunade, that guy, Madara, did he hurt you? His concern for Tsunade took over. I'm fine. He didn't do anything to me, Tsunade replied with a slight shake of her head. But wasn't he after your medical skills? Jiraiya, still groggy, had so many questions. Tsunade remained composed, though a hint of weariness flickered in her eyes. That was 3 days ago, Jiraiya. 3 days ago. He stared blankly, then his eyes widened. I've been out for 3 days. If it weren't for me, you'd probably be in a coma for a full week, Tsunade said with a faint smile. Tsunade, why are you smiling? What exactly did Madara want you to do for him? Jiraiya asked, his anxiety rising. Tsunade sighed softly. From what I understand, he wanted me to correct the damaged eye meridians connected to his Sharingan, and... She hesitated. And what? Jiraiya pressed. Transplant cells from 2 different people into his body. Tsunade finally said. Transplant cells from 2 people. Jiraiya was taken aback. I'm not completely sure about one of them, but I think, one set of cells were from Grandpa. Tsunade's voice dropped. What? You mean the cells of the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama? Jiraiya exclaimed, shocked. Yes. I'm pretty sure they're Grandpa's cells. Tsunade's face was grim. Is that bastard Madara trying to get his hands on the first Hokage's legendary would release power? Jiraiya speculated. And then there's the other person. Madara must consider them extraordinary because no one knows who they are. The chakra contained in those unknown cells, it feels as strong as Grandpa's, maybe even stronger. Tsunade said, lowering her head. What? Jiraiya was stunned into silence. The flicker of blame crossed his mind. Tsunade, I told you not to, how could you? Nagato. Tsunade said, her voice laced with pain. Hearing the name, Jiraiya's eyes widened. In an instant, he understood why Tsunade would agree to transplant cells for Madara. That bastard Madara. Jiraiya slammed his only remaining hand against the hospital bed in fury. Meanwhile, at the Hokage building, Chen Yiban had taken over the office and secluded himself for 3 days. Tsunade was forced to conduct official business from a temporary location. Now, in the darkened Hokage building, the doors and windows sealed shut. *Shing-*, eyes glowing with a mesmerizing lavender light, marked with circular ripples, snapped open. It was as if he had just arrived. His eyes were open. My Rinnegan is finally awakened. A savage grin stretched across Chen Yiban's face, his excitement overflowing. His eyes now held a pair of lavender, Rinnegan. Ha 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 ha. Chen Yiban, possessing one of the 4 laughing heroes of Uchiha, erupted in joyous laughter. These eyes. It's real. He reached up to touch his eyes, unable to contain his elation. To think, the combined power of Azura Otsutsuki and Hashirama allowed me to awaken the Rinnegan in just 3 days. Compared to the original Madara's desperate struggle, I unlocked it much faster. Excellent, excellent. This pupil power. And my chakra has surged. Ha 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 ha. Chen Yiban felt his power surge, his excitement reaching a fever pitch. His laughter echoed wildly, the next moment. Limbo, border jail. Chen Yiban's Rinnegan blazed. He activated his Rinnegan Eye technique, yet, nothing seemed to happen. However, within Chen Yiban's Rinnegan, he could clearly see, for limbo shadows materialized on either side of him. So it is limbo, border jail. It must be from copying Uchiha Madara's combat power. All the same, it's fantastic. Chen Yiban chuckled inwardly. By the way, system, integrate the 10 tails power for me too. Could it work? With a sudden thought, Chen Yiban spoke to the empty, darkened room of the Hokage building. Confirmed. Performing a seamless integration now. Fusion commencing. A system notification only Chen Yiban could hear and see materialized. With a sharp zheng sound, Chen Yiban felt his Rinnegan throb with untamed power. He sensed an additional Rinnegan Eye technique forming, the Amenota Jikara. This feeling. So incredible. He ha ha ha. Chen Yiban had lost all composure. An hour later. Around noon, near lunchtime, *creek star, the door to the Hokage's office in the Hokage building finally swung open. Chen Yiban emerged. He had concealed his Rinnegan, his eyes appearing as normal black pupils. As he stepped out of the office he had occupied for days. Chen Yiban noticed a young figure waiting outside. They seemed to have been expecting him. Madara-senpai. Seeing Chen Yiban finally emerge, Uchiha Sasuke stepped forward, his eyes alight with excitement. He bowed deeply to Chen Yiban. Chapter 34 Er Zhuzhu wants to become a disciple. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You're that Uchiha kid, the only one left here in Konoha before I showed up. Chen Yiban stared at Sasuke Uchiha with his normal black eyes and said calmly, "That's right, Madara-senpai. I'm Uchiha Sasuke." Sasuke replied respectfully, "I know you're the second pillar." Chen Yiban thought to himself, and man, he really does look like Izuna. Memories from when he was Madara flooded Chen Yiban's mind as he looked at Sasuke with a strange mix of emotions, but Chen Yiban quickly pulled himself together. "So, you were waiting for me out here?" he asked casually, looking at the kid. Sasuke immediately dropped to his knees. "Former clan leader, I want to be your apprentice." Chen Yiban was taken aback. An apprenticeship. This kid wastes no time. And you're calling me clan leader? Chen Yiban asked with a smirk as he looked at Sasuke kneeling before him. You're one clever little Uchiha. Sasuke flushed a little, realizing that calling him clan leader was definitely laying it on thick, but the way Chen Yiban was carrying himself. Sasuke figured it was worth a shot. "Madara-senpai," he said sincerely, "I really want to become your disciple. I want power. I want to get revenge on someone." Sasuke pressed his forehead to the ground, showing even greater deference. Of course, Chen Yiban guessed that the someone Sasuke wanted revenge on was Itachi Uchiha. "Let's get something to eat first. I'm starving," Chen Yiban said, neither accepting nor rejecting Sasuke's request. He simply walked past him, heading out of the Hokage building. Sasuke's eyes flashed with determination. He jumped to his feet and hurried after Chen Yiban. Soon, they walked out the door of the Hokage building. Madara. Madara-sama. Times 2.2 Konoha ninja stood guard outside. When they saw Chen Yiban, they visibly tensed up and knelt on one knee. Yeah, Chen Yiban replied dismissively, not even slowing his pace until he had completely left the building. Sasuke paused, glancing at the two kneeling ninja. He guessed they were at least Chunin level, maybe even elite Chunin, tough guys in their own right. But against the man in front, Chunin or Jounin didn't matter, all you could do was kneel and surrender, or die. Is this what absolute power looks like? Watching Chen Yiban's back in his red armor and with his long hair flowing down his back, Sasuke couldn't help but feel a sense of awe, and a longing. He wondered if he could ever become as powerful as this man. The thought brought a rare, almost imperceptible smile to Sasuke's face. Then, filled with renewed determination, he jogged to catch up with Chen Yiban. From then on, Sasuke stuck to Chen Yiban like a shadow. The streets of Konoha, repaired and rebuilt, were slowly regaining some of their former bustle. People were back to doing business, selling and buying what they needed. It was almost as if nothing had happened. Of course, it would be even better if the bottomless abyss created by the complete body Susanoo could disappear, and the 1,000-meter chasm that Might Guy had kicked into the back mountain was still there. And what about Chen Yiban's 100+ basic draws? Those came from killing people, or beating them until they couldn't fight anymore. The battle a few days ago, not counting civilians, Konoha had lost at least 300 ninja, including Might Guy, Hiruzen Sarutobi, Asuma Sarutobi, Choji Akimichi, Shikamaru Nara, Niji Hyuga, and many other prominent ninja, even Danzo Shimura of the Elder Council. Speaking of which, the other two members of the Elders group had been in hiding ever since. Chen Yiban figured he'd run into them sooner or later, and Susanoo would take them out in one shot, and now, they had reached a bustling street that was starting to look like its old self. Chen Yiban noticed that most Konoha ninja and civilians bowed and saluted as soon as they saw him, but he could also see the fear, dread, and hatred lurking in their eyes. Thinking back to what Sasuke had said about revenge a little while ago. I guess the only thing that gets passed down is hatred. Chen Yiban smiled faintly, then he continued walking. Sasuke, following close behind, couldn't help but notice the strange looks he was getting from the Konoha civilians and ninja around him. Even because he shared the Uchiha surname, possessed the Sharingan, and was now following Chen Yiban, some people were starting to hate Sasuke too. Ha! Sasuke scoffed. He didn't care what other people thought. He was unfazed, continuing to follow Chen Yiban. Chen Yiban noticed Sasuke's attitude, the way he glared back at those people with disdain. Chen Yiban couldn't help but smile to himself. This kid's got guts. Finally, enduring the bows, hateful stares, and fearful glances along the way, Chen Yiban stopped at a place that sold noodles. Yep, Ichiraku ramen. Uchiha Madara. Madara-sama. Ichiraku, who internet jokers called Otsutsuki Ichiraku, suddenly looked nervous when he saw Chen Yiban. Hey, what do you want? I am, Ichiraku's daughter, stepped forward and called out to Chen Yiban from across the counter. I am, be polite. Ichiraku hurried over and covered his daughter's mouth. He apologized to Chen Yiban. Madara-sama, please forgive her. Nah, it's cool. Chen Yiban replied with a dismissive smile. Then, excuse me, you got anything to eat? Chen Yiban glanced at Ichiraku and asked casually. Yes, we have noodles, of course. Madara-sama, what kind of flavor would you like? Ichiraku pushed Ayam out of the way and hurried forward to serve him. He was afraid that Chen Yiban would get upset and kick his ramen shop to smithereens with Susanoo. Chapter 35 Kill if you block the road. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Not bad, tastes good. Chen Yiban polished off a huge bowl of alaka ramen, set down his bowl and chopsticks, and gave a slight smile. Sasuke Uchiha, told to hurry up, slurped down the rest of his ramen. Humph, that's the jerk who put Naruto in the hospital and offed so many of our guys in Konoha. Calamus was still glaring daggers at Chen Yiban. Chen Yiban, out of nowhere, said, You're pretty spunky. Are you making fun of me? Calamus scoffed. Calamus, pipe down. Uncle Yao grabbed a wooden stick, ready to teach his daughter a lesson for being so disrespectful. Naruto, you mean the blonde kid who used to be the Ninetales Jinchuriki? Chen Yiban asked suddenly. Uncle Yao paused, his threat forgotten. Yeah, Madara-senpai. He used to be my teammate. Sasuke chimed in, helpfully. Of course, Chen Yiban already knew all about Naruto, but, he wondered, that brat's still alive. Chen Yiban had forcibly ripped the Ninetales right out of Naruto. How was he still kicking? Could it be that Naruto was now chatting with the ghost of the Sage of Six Paths and getting a power-up? Chen Yiban's eyes narrowed at the thought. Sasuke, you know what? Take me to see that kid. Oh, and one more thing. The check's in the mail. Hospital, award, knock, knock, knock. Sasuke hesitated, then finally knocked on the door. It swung open. Sasuke. Sakura Haruno stood there, surprised to see Sasuke. Then. You, Uchiha Madara. Uchiha. The color drained from Sakura's face. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Sakura, what's wrong? Tsunade's voice echoed from inside. Hokage-sama, it's Madara Uchiha. Sakura stumbled back, pointing. What? Times 3.3 voices chorused in surprise from inside the room. Jiraiya, Kakashi, and Tsunade. Then, thump, 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 Chen Yiban, in crimson armor, long hair flowing, strolled into the ward. Uchiha Madara. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Kakashi instantly tensed, like facing the ultimate enemy. Sakura was too terrified to speak. Madara, what do you want? Jiraiya clutched at the bandages covering his right side, his eyes wary. Tsunade and Kakashi looked ready to spring into action. Chen Yiban scoffed, don't bother. If I really wanted to mess with you, you think you could stop me? That shut them up, because he was right. Two of them were legendary Sannin, and Kakashi was the renowned copy ninja, all-powerful warriors, but against this man in red armor, they felt weak and outmatched. The thought of fighting back felt almost comical. Damn it! Jiraiya muttered, frustrated. Madara. Tsunade started to speak, but Chen Yiban cut her off. Relax, I just came to see how the Jinchuriki's still breathing after losing his tailed beast. He strode forward, heading straight for the hospital bed behind them. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Kakashi tried to block him. Boom. Without a word, Chen Yiban unleashed a wave of terrifying chakra. It slammed into the three of them. He completely ignored Sakura. Ugh. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Kakashi felt like a mountain had landed on them, crushing them. They were paralyzed. In those few seconds, Chen Yiban reached the bed and looked down at Naruto. Zing. His Sharingan, switching on instantly, morphed into the eternal Mangekyo form. Then, using his incredible insight and a touch of clairvoyance, he began analyzing Naruto's condition. He's still got a spark of life in him. A moment later, Chen Yiban deactivated his eternal Mangekyo, a surprised look on his face. Naruto wasn't about to die. Talk about plot armor. He released his chakra hold on Tsunade and the others. They sagged, relieved. Then, they looked at Chen Yiban with wary, questioning eyes. He's even stronger than before. They thought, alarmed. Chen Yiban now possessed the power of Azura Otsutsuki and Hashirama Senju. He'd even unlocked the Rinnegan. The gap between him and Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Kakashi was now astronomical. If he wanted to, he could wipe them out in an instant. Madara-senpai. Seeing Chen Yiban approach Naruto, Sasuke blurted out. Worried about him? Chen Yiban glanced at Naruto, then at Sasuke. Sasuke didn't want to admit it. Chen Yiban looked away. Then, in his mind, System, what happens if I kill Naruto? Chen Yiban mentally contacted his achievement system. If you don't want to leave this world immediately, it is recommended to keep him alive for the time being. Killing the protagonist of the world has unpredictable consequences. I see. Chen Yiban gave Naruto one last look. I hope you don't get in my way. Or I won't care if you're the hero or not. Then, under the watchful eyes of Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke. Chen Yiban turned and strolled out of the ward. Suddenly. Phew. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kakashi, Sakura, and the others all let out a huge sigh of relief. Damn, with that guy around, even breathing felt hard. Especially for Sakura, the weakest of the bunch, the terror Chen Yiban inspired was beyond words. Chapter 36 Uchiha Madara is resurrected. Shocked the entire ninja world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The whole ninja world went nuts while Chen Yiban locked himself away in the Hokage building for 3 straight days and nights. Lord Tsuchikage. Emergency report, that a ninja from Iwagakure knelt before Anoki in the land of Earth, Iwagakure village. Kuratsuchi, who was chatting with her grandfather in the Tsuchikage's office, jumped at the interruption, curiosity piqued. Emergency report wasn't something you said lightly. What's the emergency? Is it about the ninja world, or something here in Iwagakure? Old man Anoki was equally surprised. What's so urgent? Tsuchikage-sama, it's about the ninja world. We received a message, the legendary ninja, Madara Uchiha, the ghost of the Uchiha, is back. The Iwagakure ninja, still kneeling, reported, his voice laced with disbelief. Hearing this, Anoki froze in his seat. The legendary Madara Uchiha? Kuratsuchi looked intrigued. Wasn't he supposed to be dead? What do they mean, he's back? That she glanced at the kneeling ninja, a hint of skepticism in her voice. She didn't notice the change in Anoki, though. The moment he heard Madara Uchiha is back, Anoki was transported back. His mind flashed. Forget alliances. Submit to Konoha's power. Madara Uchiha's eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, blazing in his mind's eye. Anoki was lost in the past, until... Grandpa. Hey, Grandpa. Kuratsuchi's voice snapped him back to the present. Coming to his senses, Anoki saw Kuratsuchi offering him a coded report. Intel just came in about this Uchiha Madara guy. By the way, everyone always talks about how amazing Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara were. Were they really that good? Kuratsuchi, after handing over the report, sounded a little cocky. She figured she could take on anyone. Young and arrogant. You have no idea how powerful those two were. Anoki took the report, but his eyes were glazed over, lost in old, bad memories. Then, he unfolded the report, after a quick glance. The blue Susanoo, it is him. Wait a minute. Anoki's face changed, shock written all over it. Grandpa, is this really necessary? Kuratsuchi was unimpressed. She leaned in to read the report over his shoulder. Uchiha Madara single-handedly faced thousands of Konoha ninja led by Princess Tsunade, then unleashed a massive complete-body Susanoo, the blue-armored giant towering over 750 feet tall. Susanoo, near perfect, cleaved Konoha in two with a single swing of its sword, creating a chasm 300 feet wide, several miles long, and of unfathomable depth. Konoha suffered massive casualties. Ultimately, Konoha fell to Uchiha Madara. Moreover, Uchiha Madara ripped the nine-tailed demon fox from its Jinchuriki. This. Kuratsuchi was speechless. Seriously? Was this a novel? This was supposed to be an intel report. Not even the wildest fiction would dare to go this far. Kuratsuchi couldn't believe her eyes. Meanwhile, Anoki's face turned a sickly green. The nine tails. He got the nine tails again. Rumor had it that Madara could combine Susanoo with the nine tails to become. How is this possible? He's supposed to be dead. He died in the Valley of the End fighting Senju Hashirama. Why is he back now? Anoki looked like he couldn't grasp reality. He was ancient. And this Uchiha Madara, older than himself, had somehow returned to his prime. This was nuts. Simultaneously, lightning, wind, water, the other major nations received the same message. Even smaller nations caught wind of it. Even wandering ninja heard the rumors about Madara Uchiha's resurrection, his return, and the fall of Konoha. In just 3 days and nights, all because of Chen Yiban, the ninja world was in an uproar. Elsewhere, in a shadowy hideout. White Zetsu, is this true? A figure in a black and red cloud cloak and an orange swirl mask spoke to the empty air. A few seconds later, whoosh a white Zetsu emerged from the ground. I don't know. This guy looks exactly like Madara-sama, only younger. And he's got Madara-sama's eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Even his Susanoo looks just like Madara's. It's like Madara-sama has been resurrected in his youth. It's insane, the white Zetsu rambled, staring at Obito Uchiha. Resurrection? Obito's right eye, the Kamui Sharingan, narrowed. He didn't want Uchiha Madara back. He intended to execute the Eye of the Moon plan himself. Obito didn't trust Madara. Only. White Zetsu, do you think it's him? Obito asked suddenly. Hearing this, another figure rose from the ground, Black Zetsu. That guy's definitely not Madara-sama. At least, not the Madara-sama we know, Black Zetsu declared immediately. Oh. Obito's Sharingan focused on Black Zetsu, a hint of interest in it. He motioned for the other to continue. We know Madara-sama's eyes became Rinnegan. And they're still in Nagato's eyes. I just checked on the Akatsuki organization. The Rinnegan are still there. So, that alone is enough to tell us that this person isn't Madara-sama. And there's more. We all know Madara-sama transplanted Hashirama cells and can use wood release. But this guy didn't use wood release during the battle in Konoha 4 days ago. You could say that just because he didn't use it doesn't mean he can't. I happened to be in Konoha 4 days ago, and I saw him from a distance. I didn't dare get too close, but I could sense it. He didn't have the aura of Hashirama cells. So, based on these 2 points, we can be sure he's an imposter. But I don't know how he got Madara-sama's power and abilities. Black Zetsu was baffled about how Chen Yiban possessed Uchiha Madara's power. Obito felt a wave of relief upon hearing Black Zetsu's words, but looks like I need to go to Konoha. Obito needed to see for himself whether this person was Uchiha Madara. Even if he wasn't the real Madara, Chen Yiban's power scared Obito. He needed to be eliminated. To keep the Eye of the Moon on track. Elsewhere, something strange was happening. Shush, 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 shush asterisk. Phantom figures used a special ninjutsu to bring everyone's consciousness together from across vast distances. The many figures, both real and spectral, stood on the fingers of a massive human-shaped monster made of dead tree. Did you all hear? It's the biggest news in the ninja world. Deidara was the first to speak. I just left Konoha, and I'm trying to get back to the organization. I don't have time for news, Kisame Hoshigaki sneered, displaying his shark-like teeth. Uchiha Itachi stood off to the side, indifferent. It's about Itachi. Suddenly, Pain, from his central position, spoke. He was looking at Uchiha Itachi, who showed no emotion. On the field, everyone, including Hoshigaki Kisame, Sasori, Haiden, Kakuzu, Deidara, and Konan, stared at Itachi. Uchiha. After hearing what Pain said, Uchiha Itachi glanced at Pain, confused. I heard it has something to do with Itachi. And it's hard to believe, Kakuzu chimed in. Kisame and Itachi became curious. Until. Isn't it just that Madara Uchiha guy came back to life? How can he be compared to my god Jashin? Haiden blurted the answer. What? Kisame looked dumbfounded. Uchiha Itachi's pupils constricted. The image of a man in a swirl mask flashed through his mind. Uchiha Madara. Chapter 37 Psychic Beast 9 Tales. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Land of Fire, Konoha. Stepping out of Konoha Hospital, Chen Yiban headed straight for the mountain behind the village. Uchiha Sasuke was still tagging along like his shadow. What's your Sharingan at now? Chen Yiban asked, not breaking stride. Sasuke hesitated, then quickly replied, Madara-senpai, I've only got the double tomo. His voice held a hint of pride. Double tomo? Chen Yiban murmured. Come back when you've reached 3. He finally turned to glance at Sasuke. Madara-senpai, I. Sasuke began, sounding reluctant. Severing ties with your old teammates should help your Sharingan evolve. Chen Yiban said, already walking away. He was telling Sasuke to break things off with Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi. After all, wasn't it during that fierce fight with Naruto when he left Konoha that Sasuke first awakened the three Tomo in the original story? Why not just recreate that in a different way? Chen Yiban had laid out the conditions. Whether Sasuke followed through was up to him. He wasn't forcing the kid, it was all Sasuke's choice. Sasuke touched his eyes. Naruto. His gaze flickered, but in the end, all that remained was hatred. What I need isn't bonds, but power. Power to avenge myself on him. So. Sasuke had made up his mind. For a moment, the double Tomo Sharingan in his eyes spun rapidly, as if on the verge of evolving, but the time wasn't right yet. The Tomo slowed, remaining at 2, but it was close. Later, Sasuke chose to leave, no longer following Chen Yiban. He would seek him out again once the three Tomo Sharingan had awakened, and so, Chen Yiban was alone again, continuing towards the back mountain of Konoha. He soon arrived at a mountain gully near the massive ravine created by Might Guy's 8th gate. Madara. Madara-sama. 5 Konoha ANBU ninjas were guarding the area. Seeing Chen Yiban, they bowed respectfully, awestruck. Why were they there? Because in the middle of the gully lay a giant beast with 9 tails, the 9-tailed demon fox, Kurama. And sitting on its head was a person who looked exactly like Chen Yiban. It was Chen Yiban's shadow clone. Days earlier, after the fighting had stopped, Chen Yiban had sent a shadow clone to stay with Kurama in the back mountain. Several days had passed since then. Roar! Suddenly, Kurama, controlled by the shadow clone, rose up and roared at Chen Yiban. Took you long enough. The clone said, sounding annoyed. He had been stuck on Kurama's head for 3 days and nights. Even shadow clones had feelings. Quit your whining, Chen Yiban replied calmly. Humph. The shadow clone scoffed. Since you're finally here. Poof! The shadow clone vanished impatiently, like an overworked office worker desperate to leave after an all-nighter. Chen Yiban smiled, then, turning to the 5 ANBU, he asked, Tsunade sent you here? His dark eyes scanned them. Yes, Madara-sama, one replied. The 5th Hokage said, for safety reasons. The ANBU ninjas looked at Chen Yiban, fear in their voices. They were afraid he would kill them. Alright, you can go, Chen Yiban said, waving a dismissive hand. Yes, Madara-sama. The 5 ANBU bowed deeply, as if granted a pardon. Then, with a whoosh each, they fled. The legendary Uchiha Madara and the 9-tailed demon fox were both in the gully. What could be more terrifying? Kurama, finally alone. Chen Yiban looked at the massive 9 tails before him. The fox's pupils were still controlled by his power, displaying 3 Tomo. Chen Yiban thought, *Shing star. The Mangekyo Sharingan appeared in his eyes. The control over Kurama lifted, and the beast's mind cleared. Roar! Madara, enraged at being controlled again, Kurama swiped at Chen Yiban with a claw. The sharp claws seemed intent on tearing him apart, but, *whoosh star. Clang, The two-faced, four-armed Susanoo instantly manifested, easily swatting away Kurama's attack. Kurama, do you want to remain a mindless tool, lost in the power of my eyes? Or will you submit? Chen Yiban asked, his Mangekyo Sharingan blazing. Submit? Never. Don't even dream of it. Roar. Kurama roared. Ha, you truly are a stupid beast, Chen Yiban said, his Mangekyo Sharingan filled with scorn. Madara. Kurama glared, it prepared to unleash a tailed beast bomb, *Shing star. The power of the Mangekyo Sharingan flared, the 3 Tomo reappearing in Kurama's pupils, freezing it in place. How can this be? Kurama growled. Why was it, the strongest of the tailed beasts, constantly being manipulated by Madara? Damn him. At this time, Chen Yiban thought, system, I've got Uchiha Madara's combat template, but I don't have a summoning contract with Kurama. Is there a way I can summon him anytime, anywhere? Also, are there better ways to summon and control him? Chen Yiban, looking at the immobile nine-tailed demon fox, secretly contacted the achievement sign-in system, quickly, consume a medium achievement draw to conclude a soul contract with the nine-tailed demon fox. Forcibly accepted as your summoning beast. Consume 3 medium achievement draws to create a separate space to hold your pet. Chapter 38 would escape. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 2 days drifted by, even though Chen Yiban had vacated the Hokage building, allowing Tsunade to resume her duties as Hokage, he still hung out on the rooftop, day and night. He sat there, cross-legged, communing with the universe. He was putting the finishing touches on integrating the power of Ashura Otsutsuki and Hashirama Senju surging within him, and the power of the Rinnegan was constantly amplifying. Even the visual prowess of the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan had gotten a serious boost. That's why he'd been up there for 2 solid days and nights, locking down his newfound strength. Down in the Hokage's office, every time Tsunade finished her work, she'd steal a glance at the rooftop. A dark resentment would cloud her pretty eyes. She wondered if Chen Yiban was deliberately trying to lord it over her. The Hokage, the idea that he was always looming above her made her feel like she was being stepped on. Basically, it ticked her off. The problem was, no one in Konoha could touch him, so she had to grit her teeth and bear it, and the more she did, the more annoyed she got. Tsunade even considered moving the Hokage's office. Seriously. But, there was some good news these last couple days. Naruto, that knucklehead, finally woke up. And Jiraiya's injuries had stabilized, more or less, though, he was still missing a right hand, over at the hospital. Ero-Sennin, what's the village like now? Naruto, propped up in his hospital bed, asked Jiraiya with worry. Don't sweat it. That guy didn't wipe us out completely. We took a beating, but we're still standing. Jiraiya replied with a weary smile. He glanced at his missing arm, and a shadow passed over his face. Ero-Sennin, your hand. Naruto said with concern. Jiraiya shrugged. Hey, facing a beast like Madara, you're lucky to be alive. You can't expect to come out unscathed, right? Ha ha ha. Is that jerk still hanging around the village? Naruto asked, his voice laced with anger. Relax. If he hadn't shown a shred of compassion, we'd all be refugees. I just don't get what happened back in the Warring States period. Why did Madara say Konoha owed the Uchiha? Jiraiya, using his remaining hand, scratched his chin. Humph, he's just trying to justify his actions, Naruto scoffed. He hated Chen Yiban too much to believe a word he said, just then. Yo, the door slid open, and Kakashi strolled in with a smile and a basket of fruit. Sakura Haruno trailed behind him. Kakashi-sensei, Sakura. Naruto grinned. Looks like you're bouncing back, Kakashi said cheerfully. Kakashi-sensei, your Sharingan. Naruto noticed Kakashi's left eye was now a normal brown one. Was Sharingan Kakashi no more? Yeah, Motora snatched the Sharingan. But the Hokage hooked me up with a pretty decent replacement. Kakashi said, setting down the fruit. I see, Naruto said quietly. It felt like everyone had lost something in Madara's attack. Could it be Konoha really owed the Uchiha, and he just came to collect? Hey, where's Sasuke? Naruto, struggling to sit up straight, asked. Kakashi helped him sit up, but he didn't know how to answer. Seeing his hesitation, Naruto felt a knot of dread tighten in his stomach. He turned to Sakura. Sakura, how's Sasuke? Sakura looked downcast. Sasuke's been holed up in the old Uchiha compound. He hasn't seen anyone. Why? Naruto asked, confused. That day, Council Elder Shimura Danzo showed his entire arm covered with Sharingan. Even his right eye was Uchiha Shirsue's Mangekyo Sharingan. They were all Uchiha eyes. Coupled with Madara's rant, Sasuke, it must have affected him. He's probably even questioning Konoha, doubting everyone. Kakashi sighed. It was a mess. As a teacher, Kakashi didn't know how to deal with it. He figured letting Sasuke cool off for a few days was the best bet. Sasuke. Naruto felt a cold dread creeping into his heart. Just then, tap, 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 footsteps echoed in the hallway. Sasuke, wearing clothes emblazoned with the Uchiha crest, appeared in the doorway. Sasuke. Sakura practically squealed with delight. Sasuke, you're just coming to see me now, after I've been stuck in the hospital. Naruto couldn't help but smile, even as he complained. Kakashi and Jiraiya felt a flicker of hope seeing the three young ninja together, but then. I'm here to sever my ties with you. Sasuke's words hung in the air like a death sentence. What did you say? Naruto stared, bewildered. Sasuke. Sakura looked at him, aghast. Kakashi and Jiraiya sensed the gravity of the situation. This kid had really lost faith in Konoha. From now on, I, Uchiha Sasuke, am no longer a member of Team 7. In fact, I'm no longer a member of Konoha. I am Sasuke Uchiha of the Uchiha clan. I will be nothing but Uchiha. His face was set in stone. He'd made up his mind. To gain power, he would cut ties with Naruto, Kakashi, Sakura, everyone. Everything was for the sake of gaining the strength to avenge his clan, and Konoha was beyond redemption. Danzo Shimura's arm, his eye, all those Sharingan. Sasuke wished he could have killed Danzo himself. Danzo was an elder of Konoha. Did the third Hokage really have no idea what Danzo was up to? Yeah, right. Hypocritical Konoha. The hypocritical will of fire. They were just a pack of jackals, tigers, and leopards, hungry for the Uchiha's power. So be it. When we meet again, we don't need to be enemies. But we're no longer partners. Sasuke turned to leave. Stop. Sasuke, are you serious? Naruto, desperate, tried to get out of bed to stop him, but he was too weak to even stand. Sasuke, are you really thinking about going after that guy, Motora? Kakashi stepped forward. Sasuke paused, then. Why shouldn't I? I am Uchiha Sasuke, and he is Uchiha Madara. We are both Uchiha. His face was blank as he looked back at Kakashi. Suddenly, his eyes changed. A pair of double Magatama Sharingan appeared, spinning rapidly. Then, they stabilized. A pair of 3 Magatama Sharingan stared back at them. This is... Kakashi gasped. His Sharingan evolved. Jiraiya looked grave, sensing the dark power emanating from Sasuke. Sasuke. Naruto and Sakura were stunned. I have completely severed my bonds with you, Sasuke said, his 3 Tomo Sharingan burning into them one last time. Then, he turned and walked away. Sasuke. Sakura ran after him, but he was already gone. Meanwhile, on the rooftop of the Hokage building, Tsunade, finished with her duties, glanced at the clock and decided to grab a bite. As she left, she shot a glare at the man on the roof, clad in red armor, his long hair blowing in the wind. Chen Yiban remained still, eyes closed, feeling, condensing, and stabilizing the growing power within him. He'd been doing this for 2 days and nights. Not long after Tsunade left. Swish, a figure leaped up from the wall of the Hokage building. It landed on the rooftop near Chen Yiban. Madara-senpai, I've done it. It was Sasuke, his eyes full of eager anticipation as he looked at Chen Yiban. Madara-senpai, my Sharingan has reached the level of 3 Magatama. He displayed his 3 Magatama Sharingan. Chen Yiban sensed the enhanced power. He didn't move, didn't open his eyes, he just made a faint hand seal. The next instant, a wooden figure began to materialize, growing out of Chen Yiban's body. It landed with a thud. A wood-release clone, an exact copy of Chen Yiban, stood before Sasuke. That's the legendary first Hokage, Senju Hashirama. Sasuke stared at the wooden clone in disbelief. He couldn't believe Chen Yiban had gained the power of wood release. The bloodline limit ninjutsu of the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama, once hailed as the god of shinobi. How could Madara-senpai know this? It was all happening so fast. Chapter 39 Uchiha Obito almost became the 5th one. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looks like Black Zetsu got his intel wrong. Suddenly, while Sasuke was still tripping out over the wood clone's appearance, a weird voice cut through the air. Who's there? Sasuke's Sharingan, all 3 Tomo blazing, snapped towards the sound. Standing on the rooftop's edge, silhouetted against the sky, was a figure in a black robe with red clouds and a swirling orange mask. It was Bito Uchiha. But Sasuke didn't recognize him yet. Black Zetsu said you don't have Hashirama cells, that you can't use with style. Guess he was wrong. Bito had apparently been watching from the Hokage building rooftop. His Sharingan eye, visible through the mask's swirl, flickered over the two Chen Yibans. You've been spying on me for 2 days, the real Chen Yiban said, finally opening his eyes. Took you long enough to show your face. There was a hint of something like disdain in his eyes as he coolly assessed Bito. Oh. Bito feigned surprise. You knew I was there. Please, Chen Yiban scoffed. Madara. Sasuke asked, looking at Chen Yiban. Sasuke, this isn't your fight. Go with the wood clone. He'll guide your training for now. Sasuke glanced at the wood clone beside him. Using a clone to train him? Yes, sensei. Sasuke nodded, pointedly calling Chen Yiban teacher. Chen Yiban briefly registered the kid's shrewdness. Alright, let's go. The wood clone, sounding impatient, took off. Fast. Sasuke was impressed by the clone's speed. He quickly followed, and with that, only Chen Yiban and Bito Uchiha remained on the Hokage building rooftop, facing off. That brat thinks he can teach Sasuke. Does he really think he's Madara? Bito was trying to figure out exactly who Chen Yiban was. He didn't know Chen Yiban's real identity, but Chen Yiban knew all about him, Bito Uchiha. I'm not. But maybe you are. Oh, Bito. Chen Yiban just flat out said Bito's name. He wasn't in the mood for games. You, what did you call me? Bito sounded genuinely shaken. Chen Yiban laughed. What? After wearing that mask for so long, you actually believe you're someone else? Bito Uchiha. This time, Chen Yiban said it loud and clear, first name and last. Bito's visible eye, the right Sharingan, swirled with confusion and uncertainty. Are you really, him? No. Impossible. I watched him die with my own eyes. And no one's resurrected him yet. So, you can't be him. Bito was losing it. His carefully cultivated rasp became his normal voice, the voice of a grown man, but tinged with a manic edge. I don't recall ever claiming to be him, Chen Yiban said with a dark smirk, but then, **zing, star, though he said that, Madara Uchiha's eternal Mangekyo Sharingan blazed in his eyes. Those are his eyes. How is this possible? Feeling the overwhelming power of the eternal Mangekyo, Bito looked completely stunned. Surprised? Let me show you something really surprising. Chen Yiban's smile didn't waver, then, **whoosh, star. A flash of violet, Rinnegan, open. Suddenly. What the? This is impossible. Bito staggered back, horrified. He even instinctively activated Kamui, going intangible. Meanwhile, in the shadows. Rinnegan. How does he have the Rinnegan, too? This makes no sense. Madara's Rinnegan are supposed to be with Nagato right now. Just what is he? Black Zetsu was in shock. But, that's definitely the Rinnegan. That familiar pressure. White Zetsu, merged with Black Zetsu, chimed in. Black Zetsu was certain, Chen Yiban really had the Rinnegan. It was real. But it was also terrifying and unbelievable. Thwack. Ugh. Something unexpected happened. Bito had somehow lost an arm. Oh. You actually dodged the killing blow? A pity. Almost got you to number 5. Chen Yiban's violet Rinnegan glittered with amusement as he looked down on Bito. What's going on? Black and White Zetsu were completely bewildered. You planted a clone in the Kamui dimension? Bito clutched the stump of his left arm, his face a mask of shock and disbelief. It was true, a clone of Chen Yiban had attacked him inside the Kamui dimension. If he hadn't reacted in time, he would be dead. Something's wrong with the Kamui dimension, but why? White Zetsu was confused and curious, then Black Zetsu, his voice tight with realization, said, "It's Kakashi's left Sharingan." "Right. Kakashi's eye belongs to Obito. It was taken by the guy pretending to be Madara." White Zetsu exclaimed. "Ha!" Chen Yiban's Rinnegan gleamed with contempt as he looked at Obito, clutching his ruined arm. "Why do you know Kakashi's eye is the same as mine? And Kakashi's eye shouldn't even be a Mangekyo." Obito felt like he'd narrowly escaped death. Surprise and uncertainty warred in his mind, and he was definitely thinking twice about going intangible again. Damn it, Chen Yiban's clone in the Kamui dimension had almost killed him. Too many questions. Chen Yiban activated his Rinnegan technique, Limbo, Border Jail. Chapter 40 Beheading Obito. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Puff, in a flash, the invisible, ring tomb shadow, decapitated Obito Uchiha, but, whoosh, Obito Uchiha wasn't dead, his severed head and body vanished instantly. Then, he was whole again. Uchiha Obito stared at Chen Yiban, whose lavender Rinnegan eyes were wide open, his own eyes filled with shock. The next second, he turned tail and ran. Izanagi? This could be tricky. Chen Yiban glanced at the fleeing Uchiha Obito with a wicked smile. He said it might be tricky, but his face didn't betray any actual concern. If anything, he seemed amused, like a cat toying with a mouse. White Zetsu. After escaping the Hokage building and hitting the ground, Obito Uchiha shouted. Immediately, Uzumaki White Zetsu, Abi, who had temporarily taken over Obito's body, appeared. With a whoosh, he used Baiju's special ability to merge into the earth and escape underground. Watching all this, Chen Yiban stood on the rooftop of the Hokage building, his Rinnegan eyes fixed on Obito, who had just fled. Heh! Obito, you're done for. Chen Yiban's smile was as cold and chilling as the Grim Reaper, Izanagi. Since everyone's conditions for using it differ, the invincibility period after activation varies, like Obito, that I remember from the original series that he used Izanagi to escape the indiscriminate bombardment of Conan's 600 billion explosive tags, after the time limit for Kamui's dimension expired, so Obito's Izanagi has an invincibility time of about 3 minutes, not 3 minutes. Chen Yiban could let him escape. He just needed to wait until those 3 minutes were up. By then, he'd activate the second backup plan he'd secretly left in place. Obito, you are destined to be number 5. Meanwhile, Uchiha Obito, aided by Uzumaki White Zetsu, Abi, was making a beeline away from Konoha, outside Konoha. Some might ask, why not use Kamui to escape? Obito, damn it, there's an enemy clone in the Kamui dimension. I'm not dealing with that right now. Letting a Fei help was a last resort. As for fighting Chen Yiban head-on, Obito wouldn't even consider it. Just now, his Kamui dimension was almost breached by the opponent's clone. Then, he was beheaded by some invisible thing. Obito guessed it was a unique Rinnegan technique. If he hadn't secretly activated Izanagi, he'd be a goner. Damn it, it's like the other party knew everything about me. That guy is so shady. Even more sinister than Obito himself. By now, almost 2 minutes had passed. A Fei, keep moving. Reaching outside Konoha's walls, Uchiha Obito still didn't feel safe. Continuing underground allowed by Jue Fei to keep them hidden. Yes, yes. A Fei nodded repeatedly. They continued to distance themselves from Konoha, until they were more than 10 kilometers away from Konoha Ninja Village. Feeling completely safe, Obito finally dared to let a Fei return to the surface. At the same time, Izanagi had expired and its effect was gone. Ugh! Back on the ground, Uchiha Obito held his broken left arm, unable to stifle a cry of pain. Obito, we really took a beating this time. Who is that Madara lookalike? He actually has the real Rinnegan. By Jue Fei couldn't help but blurt out. I don't know. Uchiha Obito said coldly. He removed the brown spiral mask, revealing his scarred right face. Besides the Kamui Sharingan, in his right eye, Obito's left eye was now dull and lifeless. Before, it had been an ordinary 3-tomo Sharingan. But because he had just activated Izanagi, the Sharingan in his left eye had lost its light. Click. Obito dug out the blinded left eye, then, he pulled out a bottle from his pocket, containing a new 3-tomo Sharingan soaked in liquid. He planned to replace his left eye. Swish, suddenly, a figure wearing red armor appeared out of thin air. Obito. Chen Yiban sneered at Obito, his Rinnegan eyes glowing. Flying Thunder God technique? Impossible. Obito was stunned. At the same time, he realized the danger and thought, this is bad. He braced himself for a fight to the death and prepared to retreat to the virtual dimension again. But, Shapu, an invisible force decapitated Uchiha Obito, the Ring Tomb Shadow. Obito's head fell to the ground in a bloody arc. Click, the invisible Ring Tomb Shadow dug out Uchiha Obito's Kamui Sharingan from his right eye. He handed it to Chen Yiban. Chen Yiban, his Rinnegan eyes open, took the Kamui Sharingan and stored it in the system's internal space. Meanwhile, Uzumaki White Zetsu, a Fei, was still alive and tried to escape. The Ring Tomb Shadow swooped in. Then a fire attack burned him to ashes. Congratulations, you killed Uchiha Obito and achieved a high-level achievement once. Congratulations on getting high-level achievement lottery once. Congratulations, you killed a Fei Baiju and achieved a medium achievement once. Congratulations on getting a medium achievement lottery draw. The current number of your various draws: elementary achievement lottery, 3 times. Medium achievement draw, 3 times. High achievement lottery, 1 time. System prompts only Chen Yiban could hear and see appeared. He glanced at them and ignored them for the time being. Then, looking at Uchiha Obito's severed head. You know what? In the Kamui dimension, my clone failed to behead you, but it left the mark of the Flying Thunder God on you. So, Obito, you were destined to be number 5. Chen Yiban declared this as a certainty. Looking at Obito's body, it turned out Chen Yiban's clone, despite failing the sneak attack in the Kamui dimension, had still managed to leave the Flying Thunder God mark on Obito. The main body is a schemer, and so is the clone. Chen Yiban used the information gap, and he'd outmaneuvered Hashiman Kai, Shimura Danzo, and Uchiha Obito, sending them to their doom. Fire release. Finally, Chen Yiban used a fire release jutsu on Uchiha Obito's body, simple cremation. Prevent corpses from polluting the environment. After that, he retrieved Ring Tomb, and whoosh, he used the Flying Thunder God and left. In the end, only 2 slowly burning flames remained, but, shortly after Chen Yiban left, White Zetsu's true form and Black Zetsu slowly emerged from the ground. Madara-sama's eternal Mangekyo, Rinnegan, and the ability to use Madara-sama's Rinnegan prison. And now, he's shown the Flying Thunder God technique, which even Madara-sama didn't possess. What is this guy's background? Zetsu was shocked, half of his face quivering. I don't know. But this person has seriously jeopardized the Moon Eye plan. Hei Zetsu, the other half of the body, said grimly. Obito's dead. Can the Moon Eye project even continue? Zetsu asked quietly. Black Zetsu clenched his fists in anger. Nagato is still here. Meanwhile, after launching the Flying Thunder God several times, Chen Yiban crossed 10 kilometers and returned to Konoha, appearing on the Hokage building's rooftop. Just then, Tsunade, who seemed to have just eaten, was about to return to the Hokage building to continue handling Hokage's duties. Because of Chen Yiban's destruction of Konoha a few days ago, the already busy Hokage duties had become even more swamped with paperwork, things like approving funds to rebuild the Konoha streets, houses, and so on that Chen Yiban had destroyed were piling up. Even which part of a house should be repaired first needed Tsunadeheim's consideration and signature. Tsunadeheim was swamped. She kept cursing the punk in her head. The granddaughter of Hashirama. Suddenly, Tsunadeheim, just as she was about to enter the Hokage building, heard the voice of the most annoying person in her life, punk. Tsunadeheim thought to herself. Then, she looked up and saw Chen Yiban standing on the railing of the Hokage building's rooftop, staring down at her. His eyes had returned to their normal black color. Why don't I throw you off? Looking at Chen Yiban above, Tsunade cursed under her breath. What are you doing, you jerk? Later, Tsunade asked coyly. Chen Yiban seemed not to have heard Tsunade's verbal attack and said, "Come up here." "What are you going to do now?" Tsunade was reluctant. "I said, come up here. Don't make me say it a third time." Chen Yiban said coldly as before. This time, there was a hint of threat. "You." Tsunade glared at the man above her, her beautiful eyes full of resentment. "Here I come, you jerk." She cursed again, then lightly leaped off her feet. She jumped to the rooftop of the Hokage building. During this time, two ANBU ninjas on duty at the gate of the Hokage building watched their Hokage jump to someone else's orders. Neither of them dared to say a word, and they felt a little anxious. Fortunately, their fifth Hokage came up very quickly. The two ANBU ninjas felt inexplicably relieved. "Why did you want to see me? Do you know that because of you, my duties as Hokage have tripled these days? I'm so busy that I don't even have time to sleep." As soon as she arrived on the rooftop, Tsunade pointed at Chen Yiban and complained. "You're too loud." Chen Yiban said calmly. "You, Gur." Tsunade looked like she wanted to tear him apart. Chen Yiban cut to the chase. Whoosh. He took the Kamui Sharingan out of the system space. A bloody, Mangekyo Sharingan, appeared in his hand. "This is..." Tsunade was startled. Tsunade had long been curious about Chen Yiban's ability to pull various items and weapons out of thin air. Now, she was even more surprised to see him produce a Mangekyo Sharingan. "With your medical ninja skills, is there any way to integrate the pupil technique of this Mangekyo Sharingan into my eyes?" Chen Yiban finally revealed why he'd called Tsunade. He wanted to combine eye skills and Kamui. In fact, Chen Yiban had checked with the system, but it actually cost 3 medium achievement lottery. Damn. Creating an independent animal pet space for the 9 llamas had only used 3 medium lottery opportunities. Why was this fusion eye technique so expensive? What a ripoff. Finally, Chen Yiban thought of Tsunade, the medical master. Could she do something? Maybe he could save 3 medium draws. However. "You think I'm a god? I can't do that, no matter how powerful I am." Tsunade stared at Chen Yiban, speechless, at the same time. "Where did you get this Mangekyo Sharingan? As far as I know, there aren't many Uchihas left. There's Sasuke in Konoha, and that annoying guy, you. Then there's Uchiha Itachi, who's gone crazy outside. Are these Uchiha Itachi's eyes? But when did you leave Konoha to meet Uchiha Itachi?" Tsunade asked curiously. "You can't even do it." Chen Yiban barely heard the rest of what Tsunade said. He only seemed to hear Tsunade say, "She can't fuse the Kamui Sharingan's technique with his eyes," but, buzz, suddenly, Chen Yiban activated the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" Tsunade took a step back. "I don't believe what you said. I need to confirm." Chen Yiban said, his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan glowing. You are a jerk." Tsunade said helplessly and humiliated, but there was nothing she could do. Finally, Chen Yiban unleashed the power of the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. He controlled Tsunade. However, the answer was still, "It can't be done. Looks like I can only ask the system for help." Just 3 medium draws. In the end, Chen Yiban had no choice. Bang. But at this moment, Tsunade punched Chen Yiban hard in the face. Chen Yiban blocked it with one hand without even looking. "Ah, there were mosquitoes on your face just now." Tsunade smiled charmingly. Chen Yiban looked at her calmly, his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan eyes open.